Hello, I'm Dawn Westmoreland, hailing from Asheville, North Carolina, the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains, hailing from WPVM FM 103.7, the voice of Asheville. Every week, I have a radio show around the workplace. We might be talking about leadership problems in the workplace. And today, I'm so excited because he's a peer coach. He went to IPEC, where I went to school too for coaching. His name is Steve English. You're down in Florida, Steve, right?
And no, I'm in Austin, Texas, but I am from
Or you're in
Florida.
Austin, Texas. For some reason, I was thinking you were down in Florida.
No, but
Okay.
you were
Well,
right about
another hot
origin
place,
wise.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did
Yeah.
grow up. I went to high school there.
Maybe that's why I've got that Florida in my mind. So anyway, I've known Steve a while. He's been on the show before. He's a very compelling coach and consultant about the quiet leader. So who is the quiet leader?
Yeah, the quiet leader. So from my experience, it's that person, they're a subject matter expert. They love to listen to other people. They love to study. They love to be in their head.
Mhm.
And what is really, really holding them back is the ability to influence and communicate both within their team and in their organization, and then also in other teams. So
Mhm.
cross departmental, and then of course networking and other challenges outside the company. So
Mhm.
that's who the quiet leader is for me.
So it's a leader that is quiet. Now, do they have issues at the workplace? Do they have any, I wouldn't say negative, but where they're not being heard or validated
Yeah.
because they're a quiet leader?
Yeah. A lot of times these are folks who, for example, I had one client who had this idea for this system that would help debug electrical circuit problems.
Mhm.
And he was very frustrated because he had this great idea, but for whatever reason, didn't have the courage to bring it to the workplace and show it to other people.
Mhm.
So this is what can happen is over time. So at first it could become discouraged, and then longer term they can start to build some resentment,
Mm.
especially if they see other people with ideas that are not nowhere near as novel or good, and they're being promoted, or even worse, that they're able to share their ideas one on one, and then another person runs with it and gets all the credit.
Oh,
These are some of the things that can definitely happen for the quiet leader.
oh my. Yeah, that would be very frustrating if somebody took my idea and ran with it.
It
So how
happens.
do you help them, Steve? I've been watching you for, at least a couple of years, and you have been out there speaking, doing workshops, consulting. How do you help these kind of people, these quiet leaders?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to a three-step process. So one, they need information. They need to know how to do it. Then they need an insight or inspiration
Mhm.
that can give them an opening. Now, that insight or inspiration could be that maybe they've done it before and didn't realize how much impact they had, or that
Mhm.
they're currently doing it in some other aspect of their life, like maybe over here or somewhere, maybe in a volunteer situation, or maybe in their family or somewhere else they are communicating with confidence. And so there's some kind of insight that has to happen, and that is personal, that's individual, each person's going to have it. And then the last piece is that they take action. And oftentimes the problem is that they'll start out with like, hey, this is the target, this giant
Mhm.
goal, and they don't see that they could take smaller steps along the way to eventually hit that. But that's how they build up that confidence. So I think it really comes down to those three elements, right? Information, the how to, the insight or inspiration, and then finally some kind of action plan. And that's what I do. I help quiet leaders and get out of their shell, self promote, share their ideas, influence organizations, things of that nature. So that's soft skill.
A soft skill. And I'm sure our listeners are wondering, why did you pick this niche in coaching?
Yeah, it's a great question. My background is material science and physics. That's was I was educated in that. When I was very young, I had an aptitude for it, and I followed what's in science, in nerd circles, would be like Hamilton's principle, the path of least work, path of least effort. And for me, science and engineering was the path of least work. I didn't have to work on myself. I didn't have to overcome my own demons, as it were. My demons during my 11 pounds.
Mhm.
I was very much afraid of people, afraid of asking for what I want. So naturally, with that foundation, I empathize with the quiet leader. Then as I went through my career, I started to change myself. I started to, very slowly, because I didn't have a coach, I started to evolve and step into who I really am and will be. And what I saw was I had peers, sometimes people who reported to me, who had this challenge. In other words, they're experts. They know the science, they know the topic, they know the field really well. Tons of great ideas. Couldn't share them. And so I was often the introvert advocate, the quiet person advocate, who is, or maybe the yin to the yang, the peanut butter to the chocolate, whatever you want to call it, where I would work with folks on my team who were more quiet, more introverted, and then I would be the person who would work with them to either, take the, I say take, it's kind of a bad word to say, but I would partner with them with the data and with the charts and the graphs and the things that they made. And then we would go to meetings and influence. And of course, I would give credit. I was never one of those people who would just say, hey, send me the PowerPoint and I'm going to put my name on it and I'm going to run over there and present it,
So
unapologetically. Right. But I found that there was such a need. And so I truly, truly feel, and this may seem kind of far-fetched, but in some ways we can save the world if the introvert population, so that's 43% of the population, can tap into their amazing ideas. Mm-hmm. So just think about that, is that there's all of this untapped genius. Yes, they're thinking it. Maybe they're sharing it one-on-one with somebody, but they're not taking it to the decision makers. They're not bringing it to the people with the levers of influence, because they can't communicate it. Mm-hmm. There's, you look at, there's this idea in the lean world, right? There's 7 forms of waste. Some people would say there's an 8th form of waste, and the 8th form of waste is human potential. And I feel that last piece, that 8th form of waste, is human potential, is tied to the quiet leader, the quiet person who has these great ideas.
Steve, we're both coaches and we know this answer. Why is it so important to work with a coach versus just trying to do it yourself?
For me, so there's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote. Mm-hmm. Says, our chief want in life is to have someone who can make us do what we can. Mm. And I feel like that's what a coach really truly is somebody who can cut through your own BS, and BS, I mean belief systems.
Yes.
Your own limiting beliefs, your own lies that you've been telling yourself. They can help you cut through those and for you to see the truth, right? The truth is that we are all amazingly capable. Now, there are going to be some limits that we have, but most of them, I venture to say 90-something% of them, are just self-imposed. I'm 6'1". I weigh 220 pounds. Am I going to run a 4-second 40? Maybe not. So I know there's certain limits that are out there for me. At the same time, I also know that there are things that in the past I used to think there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And then I was able to do that through being coached. Things like a TEDx, things like changing my career, things like going out and offering workshops. So yeah, that's what I really feel, is that a coach can help you see what you can't see, and it can help you do what you think you can't do.
Please share what you talked about on your TEDx talk, and congratulations for that. It's a lot of work to get it.
Yeah. It was now a year and a month ago, I think, that it got published, and it was called The Courage to Be Disliked. No, sorry. Finding Joy by Disappointing Others. There we go. My goodness.
Mhm.
The title of it is Finding Joy by Disappointing Others. And it was really based upon, that's why I went to that, The Courage to Be Disliked. It's in full transparency. I'm one to admit, when I stand on the shoulders of giants, there's a wonderful book called The Courage to Be Disliked. And that inspired that speech. Now, that said, it is about my own personal journey. It starts out with a jailhouse photo, right? A mugshot where I was in Williamson County Jail for driving with license invalid. It was a bottom, it really was a bottom for me, and a big wake up call. My speech is really about the effects of people pleasing and
Mhm.
how I coped with people pleasing, which was about drink. For me, was drinking,
Mhm.
and then finally getting clear on what it is you really want, and likely having to disappoint other people, right? Wouldn't it be better to disappoint other people than to disappoint yourself?
Yep.
So that was really I think the takeaway for most people was that it's better to disappoint those people in your life than to disappoint yourself, because there's always more people. I know it's tough.
Sure.
It could be family members, it could be good friends that you've had forever, but we all grow. And those friends that I had when I was drinking, I had to let go of those people.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, if anybody's interested in it, I could always use more views. But yeah, it was for me. It was one of those bucket list things, to say, hey, I've done a TEDx and I want to do another one. I keep thinking about, like, what's the next topic? What's the next topic? Um, and it was a process to get on there. So
A lot
yeah,
of
I would encourage.
paperwork. Mhm.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody to, if you feel that you've got a story, you've got, maybe not necessarily a story, if you've got a message,
Mhm. Mhm.
something that people need to hear, then yeah, I definitely say get out and make a TEDx.
So, Steve, everybody loves a story because stories can be so relatable. It builds trust and bond with people. Tell us a success story of somebody you worked with, might have been having struggles speaking up for themselves, and how they improved.
Yeah, that's you asked me that, and my mental list starts going, and I'll just go with somebody recent, the client who worked with me twice. And yeah, the first time was really about, gosh, yeah, I'm still kind of pausing here for a moment. I'll tell you this, that I've had clients who, for example, they were in a job that, I have a lawyer, for example, a
Mhm.
lawyer who was in her job. She'd been there for 14 years. And through that time, she had been, her job was threatened a couple of times. She had some different challenges
Mhm.
in her role. She was oftentimes looked over for promotion. And there were times when, new people were brought in and
Mhm.
they were giving her all kinds of different feedback that really wasn't landing with her. the What I did with her was, we got clear on, hey, why is it you want to leave the company? Helped her come to that full decision.
Mhm.
That was a big leap for her. A lot of times, when you stick at a company for that long, that loyalty thing kicks in. There's even a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome where, your captors, it's the devil versus the devil you don't. And her self-perception of her value was really pretty low. So we got really clear on, what are those big accomplishments that she had done? What is the real truth about her capability in her role? And then she started looking for work. And I was able to coach her through the interview coaching, the negotiation, the networking to double her income. And she was severely underpaid. She was severely underpaid. And she was able to double her income. That's one client. I've had other clients come in with working with me where they were feeling incredibly burned out in their job. Come to find out that it wasn't just their job, it was also some of their habits. And
Sure.
I had one client, I'm pretty close with my clients. So if they send me an email or send me a text between sessions, I respond. And one night I was looking at the text, and as a recovered alcoholic, I'm not going to mince words there, I could say both. I noticed that she seemed like she was drunk.
Ah,
And I could, it's almost like you could smell it through the text. It takes one to know one.
I
And
get
I
that.
remember asking her, do you want to change your relationship with alcohol? And now she has over a year of continuous sobriety. And that was not one of those things
That's
that we identified.
impressive. Oh, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
it
You didn't
wasn't.
see that coming, did you, Steve?
No, I had no idea. We didn't talk about that. It was more about work life. Like when she hired me, it was like work life balance, trying not to burn out, things of that nature. And then it ended up being sobriety, changing her job, interview process, networking, da 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 da. But it took what it took, right? It took getting really honest, finding out what the real core issues were. And a lot of times people don't know that at the start of the coaching. But yeah, it's a I've worked with a lot of people over the 4 years now that I've been coaching, and it's been, you never know what you're going to really encounter. It's not, it's even though you say, okay, I want to work with quiet leaders, and I've, very specific stories about, okay, just being able to speak up. And, like I said, there was this guy who had a software idea, system idea, and he was afraid to take it to his management. So I coached him on presenting that and getting a lot of buy-in from his leadership and so forth and so on. There's stories like that. But then there's also these other stories, like people changing their lifestyle like that. I had one guy, I stopped working with him, and we finished the work, and then I reached back out to him to see what was going on. And he said to me, he goes, oftentimes you would ask me this question in session, and it would stick with me afterwards, is what are you tolerating?
Ah, mm-hmm.
And I would leave that question with him. And
Yeah.
sometimes he didn't, he would contextualize it to the workplace, and we would talk about that for the workplace. But then it turned into, one day he was realized after the coaching had ended, he was tolerating a bad marriage. It's like I was telling my kids about it. I was telling my kids, I was like, I think I caused a divorce. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that question,
It was coming anyway.
it was, yeah. But so yeah, coaching changes lives. And sometimes it's, like I had a business owner who ended up letting a best friend who was working for him go as a result of the coaching. So it's not always pretty, but it's necessary.
Totally. Yes. And I love asking this question to people like you, coaches. What should somebody look for if they say, I need a coach? I'm a quiet leader. I need a coach.
What should they look for? I say this to everybody who I get in I'll call it sales or enrollment conversation. As I say, look, when you're deciding, because there's one of the many different paths in which I connect with people, is that they get 5 coaches offered to them, and then they get to interview as many coaches. They get to interview those 5 coaches, and I'll tell them, I say, look, I'm at peace with whatever way you go. Hire the person that you feel you can get most honest with. Hire the person who is meeting you where you're at.
Yeah.
Hire the person that you feel is most, and this word gets overused, but most authentic and truthful to you. So you can be truthful to them. They can be truthful to you. They're meeting you where you're at. It's like that story of Larry Bird. So Larry Bird, obviously amazing basketball player,
Loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, he became a coach. And from what I've read, I wasn't on the team, horrible coach because he
Hmm.
never faced failure. He never was really, really challenged by he was a gifted athlete from the start.
Right. Right. Very
So
gifted.
so I imagine like if I'm hiring a coach, I don't really want that person who's never struggled. So that's why I say meet them where they're at.
Mm.
I want somebody who has known known challenges, like who's dealt with challenges, who's been really had been low and been has seen failure and has also been successful. I know that sounds kind of funny. Like, why wouldn't you want to just work with somebody who's been perfectly successful? The thing is that that perfect success person, they really can't empathize, nor can they help you come up with a lot of different solutions in as a thinking partner with you to overcome that challenge because well the first time they encountered it they were successful.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's why like I worked with Steve Chandler. He's an amazing coach. And that was part of him was that he had made a lot of mistakes. He had been a failure. And
Mhm.
just like I feel like I'm the same way, right? I made a ton of mistakes in my career, ton of mistakes in my marriage, ton of mistakes with my alcoholism. And that's why I feel like I can really meet somebody where they're at. Yeah.
I couldn't said that better, Steve. Now you do workshops. What are your workshops about? What do you do there?
Yeah, I do a couple of different things. I'll go backwards in terms of what I'm doing right now. So in chronological order, I've been doing in reverse chronological order. I've been doing DISC and the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So
Mhm.
people who are familiar with the Patrick Lencioni book, Five Dysfunctions of a Team, there is a workshop program built around that. And of course, the DISC assessment is used as an input to those workshops. So the idea there is that people first learn about themselves. So with that behavioral assessment, then they learn about the people on their team. They learn how to relate to them, how to get along, how a person with a particular behavioral style reacts when they're stressed. And then how to navigate that, how to work with them in a way that honors their behavioral style. And then the last piece of that is the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, where there's an assessment that I do with them and identify where is the biggest opportunity. Is it trust? Is it
Oh.
conflict? Is it commitment? Is it accountability? Is it
Mhm.
attention to results? And then from there, we have a lot of really good conversations in terms of building that trust. There's a lot of exercises that we do in the workshop in order to build whichever of those 5 has the biggest gaps. And so that's what I've been doing most recently. I did that in what was that, June and August.
Mhm.
Then I will also do things like effective public speaking. So effective speaking skills, effective presentation skills, effective meeting skills. Um, I did something based on the Michael Bungay Stanier book, The Coaching Habit. Of course, put his book, my second slide had a picture of his book, right? I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, but I did a workshop on building the the habit of coaching. So this is be for leaders to start to use coaching during their one-on-ones. And then prior to that, I've done resilience workshops. Um, I've done all kinds of different stuff in that whole soft skill space. So if you can think of it that you need it, I probably can do it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
As far as TEDx talk, that seems to be the feather in the cap these days, and so many people want to do it. So, if a quiet leader approached you and said, "Hey, Steve, I want to be on this stage, but I'm terrified. I don't think I'm good enough,
yeah.
or their belief systems holding them back." Do you work with people like that?
Absolutely. I would love to. If somebody wants to make a TEDx, wants to deliver a TEDx, please reach out to me. I've been through it. I know the ins and outs of it. I know what's difficult, what is the what it's really about in order to be selected, and it's not about just, hey, here's my life story, I'm going to tell you about it. You got to have this magnetic, polarizing, concise idea. And that's why when I made the title, right, finding joy by disappointing others, when I would tell it to people, I would get this like visceral reaction because it had so much, yeah, it had so much in it that just,
Pulls you in.
yeah, pulled people in, and it, I don't know, just seemed kind of contrarian, just that twist, that mental twist there in the name of it. So yeah, I could definitely work with people doing that, and it does lean on my background in terms of public speaking skills. I've been teaching that. It's kind of funny. I was doing that, but well before I was a coach. I was teaching presentation skills and public speaking skills back in 2003
Mm.
as an engineering manager. It was really kind of funny. Here I am, this team leader, and they're like, hey, we need somebody to teach presentation skills. I don't even remember how I got selected. I got the train the trainer guide in my other room over here. It was pretty amazing. I remember the guy who did select me, and I've tried to find him on LinkedIn. I think he retired. And so that, yeah, I've done that. And then I 14 years of Toastmasters. So I love, love, love helping people get better at communicating.
That is wonderful. And as we wrap up, let's um, let's get some information from you. If somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? What are all the resources you have out there for them to check out?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm easily found on LinkedIn, and I put a something easy to find me, right? I'm Stephen with a V, Stephen English, English like the language, comma, PCC, professional certified coach.
Mhm.
I did that because it's easier to find me. And then the other way for people to find me is on, the internet, my webpage, www.stephenenglish.net, not stephenenglish.com. There's a guy who has it. He wants a lot of money for it. And he doesn't use it. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, stephenenglish.net. And on there, I have a free workbook to help you build your confidence. So go over there, fill out the little form, and I'll send you that workbook.
A free workbook. That is incredible. Yes. Yes. So where are you heading from here on, Steve? Well, you're
Yeah.
speaking, you're coaching. We're down to the last minute. Tell us where you're heading.
That's that I'm asking myself that all the time. I I really love the workshops because it is a force multiplier. I really feel like when I help teams connect and communicate better, that there's a ripple effect. So it's not just that I'm helping that one person, I'm actually helping all the people in the room, and then all the people in the room that they are connected to. So, and, if I'm doing a workshop for a leadership team, then it flows on down. So that, for me, I really, really enjoy that. I really love the workshops. Of course, I love the one-on-one coaching.
Mhm.
So it's really tough. It's a really tough choice. And I don't think I need to make that choice. I think I can do all of the above. Um, where I want to focus maybe a little bit more is on the workshops, and then use that as, let's say, the means to connect to a large group of people that can know me, like me, and trust me, such that
Mhm.
I can then work with them one on one. So I guess a little bit of the funnel, if you will, as opposed to leading with the one on one coaching and then coming along with the workshop stuff behind that. I've been thinking about kind of flipping that up a little bit.
Steve, it's been good. It's been great to connect with you again. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Listeners, check Steve English out. Confidence workbook, powerful. I've watched Steve for the last couple of years, and he's just a very powerful coach and a very authentic, very transparent coach, and he gets results. So you've been listening to the Empowered Whistleblower Radio podcast about workplace show issues. And I hope you return. Our show airs every Thursday, 4:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or anytime you stream. Take care, stay empowered. Steve, take care. And you also empower people.
Thank you.